Good morning. I'm Dan Owen, and this is Passage Attack. Today, our scripture for consideration will be Philippians 4:13. A great scripture that all of us like. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Let's see what it means in the context of the book of Philippians. First of all, I'd like to start with Philippians chapter 1 and verse 3. And if you look here with me at Philippians 1 verse 3, Paul says, I thank my God in all my remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine for you, making my prayer with joy. And then he says, because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now. This word partnership is the word koinonia, which means fellowship or participation. And Paul is talking about the fact that the Philippians were his supporters. They shared with him in the gospel. It's interesting that as he talks with them after saying, we've been partners in the gospel from the first day. Verse 6, I'm sure of this, that he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion at the day of Jesus Christ. It is right for me to feel this way about you all because I hold you in my heart, for you are partakers with me of grace. This word translated partakers with is actually one word which also contains the word koinonia, or fellowship, or sharing. So in what sense were the Philippians sharers with, or partakers with, Paul in the gospel of Christ? Well, in Philippians chapter 4, beginning with verse 10, as he closes the letter, Paul says, I rejoice greatly in the Lord now at length that you have revived your concern for me, for you were indeed concerned for me, but you had no opportunity. Not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. Now, notice here, Paul's talking about his circumstances as far as his life and his livelihood, and he says, I've been brought low, I know how to abound, plenty. He talks about changing circumstances. He talks about plenty and hunger, abundance and need. He's talking about when it was feast or famine, when he had plenty of support and sustenance, when he had very little support and very little to get by on, little food to eat, little money in his pocket. And then he says, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Now, in the context, strictly, he's talking about the fact that he can exist when he has very little support. He can exist when he has an abundance of funds and support, that he can do whatever he needs to do in whatever circumstance through Christ who strengthens him. And to make this point a bit clearer, Paul continues in this context and says in verse 14, yet it was kind of you to share my trouble, as you Philippians yourselves know that in the beginning of the gospel, right here, when I left Macedonia, no church entered into partnership with me in giving and receiving except you only. Look at this word partnership and go back to chapter 1 verse 5, where he says they had been partners or partakers or sharers or had fellowship with him in the gospel from the first day until now. And notice that this involved giving and receiving, that is, giving support. He continues to show this in the next verse, even in Thessalonica you sent me help for my needs once and again. Notice, you sent me help for my needs. Not that I seek the gift, but I seek the fruit that increases to your credit. I received full payment and more, and I am well supplied, having received from Epaphroditus the gifts you sent. So remember earlier in verses 10 through 12, Paul said he was He's learned to be in abundance, and then he's also learned to live in want. Now he's saying that he's well supplied because of the gift that the Philippian church once again sent him. So when we read all of this in context and we go back to our original passage that we're concerned about, verse 13, when Paul says, I can do all things through him who sent me, he's really saying that I can be in plenty and want. I can be in need and have an abundance. I can be rich or poor. But whatever circumstance I find myself in, I can navigate that circumstance and serve the Lord in that circumstance because of Christ who strengthens me and because of the mission that I have. Hope this helps you understand Philippians 4:13 a little bit better. I'm Dan Owen, and this is Passage Attack. God bless you and have a great week.